bet Bruce would have been mad too. The title of my sermon today is Disappointed? And then I have to ask, really? Really? How many of you saw the moon Sunday night? How many of you made specific, you wanted to see that moon, you wanted to see something that wasn't going to happen again until 2033? But you know what? As beautiful as that moon was, there were some people that were disappointed. Some of them probably stayed up all night. Some of them may not have. Maybe they didn't wake up the next morning. But they were disappointed that Jesus hadn't returned. See, Sunday night was a total lunar eclipse, where the moon passes between the Earth's shadow and doesn't fully reflect the sun's light. And it's called a blood moon. And this is actually part of a tetrad. And a tetrad is 4 consecutive total lunar eclipses without a partial lunar eclipse in between them. But what makes this tetrad so special is that each one of these lunar eclipses occurred on a Jewish holiday. And many people took a look at this, and they saw it was the end of times. It was a sign of Jesus. On October 15th in 2014, a lunar eclipse was Passover. And October 8th of 2014 is the Feast of Tabernacles. October 4th, 2015 was Passover, and then on September 27th of 2015, it was the Feast of the Tabernacles. So why would people believe that Jesus was coming? If you'd like to follow along with me in your Bibles, or I will have the verses up here. Joel 2:30 and 32 says that I will show wonders in the heavens and the earth, blood and fire and pillars, and the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. Besides this verse, people are looking at Matthew, talking about a tribulation and where the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give up its light. And they talk about the Son of Man will appear in heaven. This is the sign just before he comes. And then he will send his angels with a great shout, sounds of a trumpet, and they will gather together. Well, there are several books that have been written on this subject, and in fact there are websites out there that talk about it, even predicted an event, an apocalyptic event that would include the return of Jesus. Besides the blood moon, what do you think other people could have been looking at? What would have given that sign? You know, the disciples asked Jesus, when are you coming again? They wanted details. Kind of like my wife, when I'm talking to her, she'll need details. Now, do any of you husbands have wives that need details? Are you guys scared to raise your hands? Okay. Big chickens. Anyway, my wife will be talking about something, and then she'll start asking me questions. And I just really, I didn't pay any attention, or I need details, so try to give her details. Matthew 24, 3 through 7. Jesus lists a number of events he talks about. And Jesus answered them, here's the details. Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. Over the years, there have been several false Christs. And you hear of wars and rumors of wars, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines, pestilences, earthquakes in various places. And all this is the beginning of the sorrows. If you were to take a look at the world today, are we in turmoil? Is our world in turmoil today? Do you find that there's problems with religious, political, economic, military, there's natural disasters, there's hostility towards Christians, there's apostasy where people are walking away from God, they're abandoning their faith, people are becoming self-indulgent, living to the excess. If you were to look at the world today, I'm going to give you some examples. The Pew Research Center just recently released information that the number of Christians in the United States has dropped by 8 points, or 8%, in just 7 years. Now step back and think about it. How big of a country do we have, and how big of a population, and how many people are Christians? And now we have people that say, no, I'm not a Christian any longer. We hear about evangelism being conducted all over the world and in the United States, but people are abandoning Christ. I want to give you another example. On June 26th this year, there was a landmark event. The Supreme Court ruled that states cannot ban same-sex marriage. The United States became the 21st country to legalize same-sex marriage. There are now 22 countries altogether that do that. When we take a look at marriage, though, what instruction did God give us about marriage? I want to ask you ladies, did you ever dream or even think about a garden wedding? Can you imagine what that would have been like? And the person officiating was God. And the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept, and he took out one of his ribs, closed up the flesh. Then he made the woman, and he brought the woman to Adam. Can you imagine the smile on his face? How many of you remember your wedding? And remember that big smile you had on your face when your bride just turned the corner and started walking down the aisle? That's what Adam was thinking. This is my bride. How lovely. This is my mate. And then God said, therefore man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Let's step back. The definition of marriage by the Supreme Court in other countries doesn't match this. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and they will be one flesh. That's God's instructions. You go to Matthew 19, Jesus reaffirmed this when he said, for a reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and two shall become one. Become one flesh. See, Jesus would be in question about divorce. The Bible does not say God said that man would be joined to man or woman would be joined to woman. God said that they're male and female, and they will be joined together as one. You take a look at what has occurred over the last few years. And we can go back and take a look at what is going on just in the world itself. Besides these things, there are natural disasters that are happening all over the world. There's fires out west. There's volcanoes erupting. There was an earthquake in Nepal like never before. And people are being killed. ISIS. We've all heard of ISIS. And the terrible things that they're doing to Christians. But besides that, there are some other things that we can take a look at just right around us. There are mass die-offs of animals. National Geographic in 2015 just started talking about that. They said between 1902 to 2012, there were more mass animal die-offs in just the last few years. So scientists are stepping back and asking the reason why. What's going on? Well, it's man's greed. That's what's going on. I talked about the violence in the world. You take a look at the violence, you take a look at the things that are going on in ISIS in Nigeria. There was an entire village wiped out. And then just this week, there were shootings in Oregon. A young man killed 9 people, wounded 9 others. And according to one of the victims, he was asking people if they were Christians. And then if they were Christians, he would shoot them in the head. There was a report that came out late last night, and I think this might be what Wilson was referring to. Grant Path's Seventh-day Adventist Church. They lost one of their church members in that shooting. Her name was Serena Moore. She was 44. It happens to good people. Here's some statistics I want to give you. 92 people in the United States are shot every day. That's one person every 16 minutes is shot in the United States. I found that staggering. I just couldn't hardly believe that. It was hard for me to get my hands around that. Since 2001, 153,000 people have been killed by gun violence versus 3,064 who have been killed by terrorist attacks. And most of those occurred during 9/11. Just this past week, I don't know if many of you had heard, just in South Dakota, in a little town called Harrisburg, there was a student. He went in and shot the principal. He survived. Small towns. Roseburg is not a big town. My mother-in-law used to live there. So what's changing? What's going on in our culture? And we take a look at all these things and we ask, it looks like the end is near. It looks like the end should have come Sunday night. But let's take a look at Matthew 24:36, or 24:6, excuse me. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. This is the most important thing. But the end is not yet. You see, what Christ is telling us, he's reminding us that there are going to be a lot of things going on. He's not intending to tell us that there's a specific time of the second coming, but he wants us to realize that it is coming. And it will probably be coming soon. So some of you might be saying, okay, Pastor, what are you telling us? What should we be doing? Are you telling us that we need to get ourselves right with God and families, get our families right, and start storing food and hunkering down in some type of bunker? Pastor, is that what you're telling us? No, I'm telling you, go to your Bible and look at the book of Revelation. Look in the books of Daniel and Revelation. Because God is telling us what he wants us to do. Daniel 2:28. But there's a God in heaven who reveals secrets. King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. And he couldn't interpret this dream. He didn't know how to interpret it. And so he brought together all of his soothsayers and his magicians and his wise men, and they couldn't interpret it either. In fact, they didn't know how to interpret it because they didn't know what it was. But God revealed that dream to Daniel. And God revealed the meaning of the dream through Daniel to Nebuchadnezzar. You see, Daniel 2:22, he reveals deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells within him. God knows. He's given each one of us an opportunity to search, to read, to find out, to do what he's asking us to do. You see, in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, God revealed the future, what was going to be coming, what was going to happen when God would set up his kingdom. And we talk about God reveals. This is the book of Revelation. And the book of Revelation begins the revelation of Jesus Christ. It's the revelation of him, of his story, of what's going to happen. And God gave this to his people, to his servants, to let them know what was going to take place. It says, "Blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written in it, for the time is near." So the question is, do we spend enough time in looking at Daniel, Revelation, and other parts of the Bible? So the question is, when will Christ return? When will he be coming? Revelation 4:6 and 7 contains, "I saw another angel in the midst of heaven having the everlasting gospel to preach out to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, and tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come." It's prophecy. It's his word going out. Now, if you take a look at Matthew 24:13 and 14, the question was, and when will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And Christ says, and the gospel of this kingdom will be preached in the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end will come. And when you think about it, some people will say, well, we've got satellite television, we're spreading the gospel, it's going out there. But do people understand the gospel? Do the people just catch a fleeting glimpse of the gospel? Do they really understand what they're reading? You know, we talk about a great ton of trouble in the future in Daniel, talking about Michael standing out, the great prince who watches over his sons. That'll be a time of trouble that none of us have ever seen. Such as never seen before there was a nation, even to the time, and that time your people will be delivered, everyone who is found written in the book. See, God is going to be delivering us. Revelation 3:10, it talks about we're going to persevere. My command to persevere. I will also keep you from the hour of trial. God is going to protect us. God is going to protect the people. who honor him and do what he says.
Amen.
Revelation 16:1 says, Then I heard a loud voice from the temple saying, The 7 angels, go out and pour out your bowls of wrath on the God of God on earth. When that wrath comes, if you're right with God, you have the assurance that you will be saved. And that's in Revelation. That's what's been revealed to us. If we do what Christ asks us to do, we will be saved. So here's the question that I think we all have to ask ourselves. Am I doing what God has asked me to do? Am I living a faithful life? Do I spend my time developing a relationship with him? Do I spend my time developing a relationship with others? Am I going out and making disciples? Am I feeding the hungry? Am I giving the thirsty something to drink? Am I taking in strangers? And when people are naked, am I clothing them? And when people are in prison or in the hospital, am I visiting them? What am I doing? Really, the question gets back to, have I died to self? When you go back and you take a look at the original sin, Eve thought of self. She wanted that knowledge. She hadn't died to self. Eve's value of self was greater than the value of the Lord. And that's what we have to ask ourselves each and every day. So, earlier I talked about some of the things that we could be doing. I've got people that are interested in Bible studies from the Fair Booth. And I'm calling for help. I've had my elders tell me, hey, Pastor, you work too hard. Too many people that you're trying to visit. And I'm saying, I need help. But I give you sermons like this not to make you feel guilty, but just to make you think. What is it that God wants you to do? You see, on earth, we are God's hands and we are his feet. We are his tools. He uses each and every one of us if we let him. I have a closing song. I'm going to make it easy on you today. You don't have to sing. But I just want you to look at this. I want you to think about it. I want you to listen to the lyrics.